Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today. Hope you're all doing absolutely excellent. I mean, you should be. It's like Christmas Eve today, and tomorrow's Christmas morning where we get an hour-long Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. After all these leaks and rumors and speculation for years and years, I'm just excited to finally pull a lid off of it and just get the actual information. When's the thing coming out? How much will it be? What are the launch games? That sort of stuff. What third-party publishers are supporting this thing out the gate? That kind of thing. Like, I'm just so excited to finally get some answers. But obviously, with a lot of changes in the industry, this Switch 2 Direct gets infinitely more interesting, especially if you're a viewer of this channel. You know, we talk a lot about Xbox and Bethesda, and I expect them to be out in some sort of capacity at this event, given recent leaks and rumors and discussions that we've had. So we're going to get into basically everything that is surrounding this Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, the calm before the storm, if you will, in today's video, starting off with Xbox and Bethesda, and then kind of working our way to more Nintendo territory. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what's going on with Xbox, I guess Nintendo, because we're going to be, just a heads up, talking about them a lot this week, then consider subscribing. But let's start off at the top with what's going on with some Nintendo Switch ports for Xbox, right? It is expected for Xbox to continue to go full throttle as a multi-platform publisher, but we've never really seen them on someone else's stage in quite the way they can be present here in the Nintendo Switch Direct. Whether it is a curated version of Game Pass or I think just announcing a bunch of ports, I do expect to see Xbox here, not only because Nintendo will happily be there to make that statement that Xbox is bringing games to their platform because that'll just bring them more money, but also I think Xbox wants to be there because it really pushes the point across the line to a lot of people who are still denying where Xbox is going with things, that they are going to go everywhere they possibly can. One of the games to be discussed to make this jump to Nintendo Switch 2 and eventually PlayStation is Halo. Originally, it was discussed in the form of the Master Chief Collection in its entirety jumping over, but it might be a little bit different. Listen to this conversation on Xbox 2+1.
What are you looking at for Xbox support of the Nintendo Switch 2 launch? In at least the Direct in April.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see like if they're heavily involved in that or not. But they are doing a bunch of games, so
I feel like that's the announcement of Master Chief Collection for Switch and PlayStation right there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be collection in the sense of, you know.
Oh, really?
Not like,
I wouldn't think of it.
Not like the collection as it exists right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't think of it of every game. Put it that way. Probably the most I can say on it.
This changes things a little bit, right? Because Halo Combat Evolved Remake is a leaked project. We know this is likely on the way based on the Halo Studios announcement. And now we're hearing that instead of like one entire Master Chief Collection, it's going to be maybe individual SKUs or just a select few games from the Master Chief Collection that go over. So like maybe you just get like Halo 1, 2, and 3, or maybe just Halo 1. I don't know. It's like this kind of like halfway through the door energy doesn't sit well with me. Like I've already accepted and embraced what Xbox is doing. So for them to be like, well, we're just going to give you like a couple of ports. I'm like, what are you doing? Just give them the whole thing. This could also just mean games that were only downloadable that were added to the Master Chief Collection later, like a Reach or ODST. Maybe these aren't present in the collection at first and you just get the original Master Chief Collection, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then later they do separate SKUs for things like Reach, things like ODST. So we'll see. But the other game that's been talked about a lot is Starfield. Now, Tom Warren also said on this show that Starfield was originally going to drop its PS5 port with the expansion. Those plans changed. We actually heard about this much earlier, but it was when Nate the Hate was trying to clarify a report. So a lot of people thought before he became like tier 1 leaker status that he was covering his own ass. But he did say here that the report is accurate. Starfield will land on PlayStation. I've heard similar, but opted to wait until reporting this information until the PS5 release timeline was finalized. And he does say at the bottom that I want to emphasize that though I heard similar, one should still treat this as a rumor as noted above. I didn't want to report on it until a release window was finalized, meaning plans remain open to change. Microsoft will bring select games to multi-plat. That I have confidence in, and obviously we see the results of that. So that release window has always been pretty nimble when it comes to Starfield, and this feels like it could be a good time to put a shot in the arm for that game. Like, hey, Starfield's coming to Switch 2. You announce as well it's coming to PS5, maybe on like a separate platform, because I don't think Nintendo would like you to do that on their own platform. So then maybe that'll tee things up for Starfield later in like the summer showcase for Xbox to show off their next expansion. But I think that game desperately needs a shot in the arm. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we get some sort of announcement there. But the big question is Oblivion Remake. That is the game that is floating around and apparently dropping this month. Okay, I don't know if I'm ready for this, but here we go. Nonetheless, we hear from Detective Seeds. He says, I believe the Oblivion Remake is going to launch by the end of next week, likely Thursday, April 3rd. Then 13 later, you get Indiana Jones, and then 13 days later, you get Horizon 5 on PS5. And someone said, is this from a source? And he says, yes, but it's a little iffy if it's going to be this week or next. They were confident in it coming through. Now, Detective Seeds is what I kind of like rate as an up-and-comer. Very transparent on his Twitter account. He's like, hey, I get it. Still in the prove it stage. He did talk a bit about how the PS5 announcement was coming for Indiana Jones soon, and it was going to be in the third week of April, which was correct. Same thing with the Doom previews. Those leaked ahead of time, and they did indeed launch at the end of March. So we'll see what happens with Oblivion Remake. Like, the idea that we might be like 2 days away from it is crazy to think about. Like, I'm just not ready for that reality. I will lose my mind if this looks really good. But the thing that I kind of wrestle with a bit is, as we'll talk about in a little bit thanks to Digital Foundry, some of these dev kits are going out to third-party developers later. I don't know if Bethesda would be one of those people who gets it late, but also when you look at Skyrim on Switch 1, that came to the platform in like November, but it was a part of the Switch reveal. And if the game is available immediately, I just don't see a world where it really benefits Nintendo to be like, hey, we're shadow dropping this game, hear about it now and play it on our system much later. Like, even in a couple of months, it's like by that point, the kind of excitement window is gone. I don't think many people are going to wait for the Switch 2 unless it fits a very particular situation for them. So I'm still a bit skeptical about this being at the Switch Direct, which I think is great because I like that it's not just like cashing in, it's going to be there. There's that level of excitement and surprise still lingering where I don't really fully know, but you know, I feel like out of all the events that are happening this month, spoilers, it's just the Switch 2 Direct. This would be the best spot to announce an Oblivion Remake. How that benefits Nintendo, I don't know. Because now we get into the Switch 2 release plans thanks to Insider Gaming. And they write here, according to the documents, Switch 2 is scheduled to release in June, a release month that has been widely rumored and was highly talked about by developers at this year's GDC. Let's just pause there. See, what's interesting about this release window for Oblivion Remake is it was originally June. Like, that was the original report. This would line up perfectly. Like, Oblivion Remake is going to be around the same time the Switch 2 launches. How exciting is that? Then we start hearing about shadow drops, or it's going to be out within a week of its announcement. And again, you look at this sort of release window, which, you know, I trust Insider Gaming, I trust Tom Henderson. It's like, okay, the system's coming out in June, so there's just this 2-month window potentially between the announcement and shadow dropping of the Oblivion Remake and when it actually comes to the platform that it was announced on originally. Just a little strange to me. I don't know. It's different when like Skyrim's been around, it's made its rounds where, you know, it coming to Switch, it can arrive there whenever. But when this is like a brand new release that I think a lot of people are going to be jumping around for, I don't know, just something about it seems a little weird to me. Anyway, let's continue on, shifting to the next topic. However, the documents do add a little confusion as to when pre-orders will go live, especially following the Best Buy Canada leak earlier this week, where they revealed that the pre-orders would go live on April 2nd. According to the documents from the US retailer, pre-orders are set to go live on April 9th, 1 week after the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. The documents include a messaging strategy following the Direct to include pre-order coming soon messaging and a countdown clock that will end on April 9th with an exact time to be confirmed by Nintendo on April 2nd. I just hope that scalpers are kept in check and that people who want to buy a system, whether it be as a gift, for a friend, or for themselves, can easily get one. Let's shift a little bit more into Nintendo territory because I've been talking a lot about Xbox and what's going on with Bethesda and all that stuff, but really most of this showcase is going to be loaded with Nintendo-oriented stuff. Of course it should be, right? Like the things, the features, the weird Nintendo solutions to problems they have. Like, what is this system going to be? Well, I think one thing we can expect is some sort of expansion of the Nintendo Switch Online service. I think this is going to be big for Nintendo this generation, is kind of establishing a more social platform. You know, they do have that C button, the Connect button. We'll talk about what that may be. But also, like, Nintendo not having a really great friend system. Like it's just Cog puts it perfectly, a glorified stalker list where you can just see what your friends are playing and the hours they log, but you can't interact with them in any interesting ways. No messaging, no party chat, no Discord support. Like it's a very isolated system despite its success. I'd love to see them embrace social features through Switch Online, but I also think what they might be adding is GameCube support. This comes from Nintendo Everything. They say new FCC filing hints at Switch 2 GameCube controller. And you see here, this is the filing that was submitted. And they say here the label is printed on the product and will not come off naturally during the life of the product. And naturally, people started lining up the GameCube controller. And you can see here, the label is there, embedded right into the actual controller. And they write, while some might think that the FCC document could be for a Pro controller, it seems that's not the case. Among other things, it does not appear to have NFC functionality. Note that this does not automatically confirm certain things such as GameCube games on Switch Online 2. Also, it's possible the controller could be used on Switch 1, but that is on the speculative side of things. Not an automatic confirmation, but if you're bringing out a GameCube controller, I mean, there were GameCube-like controllers, for example, with Smash, so makes me wonder a bit if they're kind of preparing that sort of push for Switch Online, getting a lot of subscribers in there, even more so than they have right now, and having particular controllers to support it. I think that'd be really cool, especially because the thing with GameCube on Switch that makes it feel more necessary is you have to imagine that sometime this year we're going to get Metroid Prime 4, and they remastered the first one, and it's a brilliant remaster, borderline a remake, but when it comes to Prime 2 and 3, kind of the games that you need to catch up on, like, how are you going to get those out? I mean, I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to, like, shadow drop one and then put another one out a little bit later, but I could see a world where they're like, GameCube games are available on Switch 2 via Switch Online day one. You'll be able to play Metroid Prime 2, 3. That's where we get like Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, all those long anticipated HD remasters. Maybe they just get like shoved into this Switch Online service to kind of boost the subscriber count for it, and then you have this controller attached to it. Just a guess. We also talked a bit about that C button. According to Xstasis, he says in his video that one of the functions of the C button will be able to connect the Switch 2 to the Switch 1 and use the Switch 1 as a controller or screen for Switch 2 games. Hello, Wii U gamepad, I guess. I mean, this would be an interesting way to do that, if that is an option for some games to support it. But it seems like a pretty brilliant way to keep the Switch 1 relevant in your household and to not just get rid of it. It seems like a relevant way to buy Switch 2 games without buying multiple Switch 2s. And when you combine that with like the virtual card system, I'm kind of surprised Nintendo might be doing these sorts of things because they like money. However, we see how Xbox, through like their streaming and cloud gaming, tries to keep even, yes, Xbox One semi-relevant to their plans. And so I think Nintendo wants to keep that family of consumers, that very large family of consumers, in the Switch 1 ecosystem relevant heading into the Switch 2, or at least not making the system immediately redundant. Speaking of those virtual cards, though, something that was interesting and picked up on Nintendo's own website is this little statement here. Compatible systems must be linked to a Nintendo account to use virtual game cards. Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games and Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games can only be loaded on a Nintendo Switch 2 system. Naturally, a lot of people looked at this and thought to themselves, oh, they're actually going to do upgrades for these Nintendo Switch 1 games. And immediately my mind goes to Pokemon Scarlet. I mean, that is a game that I would kill to see some sort of technical upgrade because the LEDs on that game are just like god awful. They're so broken. I view this a lot like what happens when you buy certain PS4 games with a PS5 SKU. Like you just have like two options that you can download. I have never chosen to download a PS4 game on my PS5 if the PS5 version was available. But I feel like, again, if you're walking that line of keeping the Switch 1 ecosystem alive and embracing the Switch 2 family, like you might need to make pared down versions like you did with Breath of the Wild, where you had a Wii U version and you also had the Switch version. So I don't know if this really confirms next-gen upgrades like I am hoping for. This says more to me that there might be just scaled down versions of Switch 2 games, because until that full leap is made to the Nintendo Switch 2, where it has a large family of users and you're not really losing out on potential software sales by going fully into the Switch 2, this is a good way to kind of bridge that gap a little bit more. I've mentioned it a few times this video, so let's get the full context. Digital Foundry was talking a bit about third-party support for Nintendo Switch 2, and here's what they had to say about development kits going out.
Based on a lot of the things I've heard, it also seems like many developers are still without kit. So they are very slow at rolling this out to a lot of developers. And I think you're right. I think there will be third-party games early on, of course. It just seems like a lot of medium to small developers still do not have access to development hardware. So Nintendo has been very selective with who they allow to do it.
Following this up, Imran Khan said on Reset Era that it was Embracer Group who was left out of some of the third-party development kit conversation, saying, I don't know if their plan changed. This story was maybe 8 months old, but I know companies that split off from Embracer ended up going back to Nintendo and renegotiating, and they were more amenable. So again, interestingly, Nintendo being very picky about who they allow in, and this means that certain third-party ports that we are looking for, like maybe those Xbox games we were talking about at the top of this video, I feel like these are games that may ship in the holiday window. One thing the Switch one did brilliantly was they had a new exclusive, whether it was a Wii U port or not, it didn't matter to me. They had a new exclusive every single month of their launch year, so I was constantly engaged with my Switch one. It was perfect, honestly. It was one of arguably my favorite launch of a system ever, just because they kept giving me really good software. And as someone who did not fully adopt the Wii U and its library, there was a ton of stuff that I just never played before that I was just happily buying on my Switch. And I think like many others, like I was playing Pokken Tournament, even though it did have a Wii U version. I was playing Mario Kart 8, even though it did have a Wii U version. So these were still exciting releases for me. So if Nintendo can strike that between like interesting ports and third-party support, as well as, you know, consistent exclusives, I think they have the winning formula right here. But what would make this the most beautiful win of all, it feels like it's just gotta happen based on this website. Final Fantasy IX, celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. Square Enix put up a Japanese-only website. You can look at it right now. There's merch going up. It feels like they are preparing for something. It's interesting it goes up this week, and we have the Switch 2 Direct, and we also know that, look, there was that NVIDIA leak that had the Final Fantasy IX remake there. Final Fantasy Tactics was there. Nate the Hate reconfirmed it. Like, I think this is pretty much a lock happening this year. This is my favorite Final Fantasy game, man. Like, I cannot wait. I feel like it's going to be more of a traditional remake, but I'm curious, like, do they keep the ATB system? Do they go more like Final Fantasy X and do like traditional turn-based? Like, the only thing that I feel could be better in Final Fantasy IX is the gameplay. You know, I don't hate the ATB system, but I feel like something changed when you went from 7 ATB system, which works really well to me, and then 8s and 9s just don't feel as good. But also just the production value, the characters, the story, the emotion, to see this on a whole new level potentially. I'm not expecting Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth level quality here, but I cannot wait to learn more here. And that's the exciting thing, is the games at the end of the day. Of course, I'm really curious about the feature set of the Switch 2, but the games, I mean, I remember with the Switch 1 reveal, that's where they showed off Octopath Traveler, and to me, that was like a life-changing game. Like, it just breathed so much life into the idea of like, oh my god, games can still look different and kind of call back to these originals while feeling modern. Like, what a probably the most brilliant artistic choice I've seen in a video game ever was Octopath Traveler. So I just cannot wait for the surprises that none of us are expecting. It'll no doubt be an extremely fun day tomorrow. We'll be here talking about it all, and I already know with just the amount of announcements and stuff between this channel and Retro Rebound, I'm going to look tired in a few videos, y'all. So just be prepared for baggy eyes, Maddie. With that, ladies and gentlemen, leave your thoughts down below. What are you expecting tomorrow? I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Other than that, I'll catch you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.